Hello, I'm Graham Sheehan, and this is a 25 cubic foot propane-fired kiln. Throughout this program we'll be constructing this kiln, and I'm confident that using this program and the accompanying set of working drawings and the materials list, anyone can build this kiln. A kiln of this size is suitable for the beginning professional or for the serious hobbyist. For instance, a full-size set of dinnerware could be fired at the one time in a kiln of this size. Let's begin by having a look at the materials used in the construction of the kiln. The principal material used in the construction of this kiln is lightweight insulating fire brick. You'll notice that this brick has been used, and as have most of the materials in this kiln, we've obtained them from a kiln that I built a few years ago. The steelwork is recycled, as is the gas piping. Let's take a moment and see how the heat circulates through this kiln. The gas is delivered to the burners through this piping here, shut-off valve here. This is the burner. And the flame is lit at this place here, at the end of the burner. Enters through the burner port here into the kiln. Combustion occurs behind this loosely stacked wall of brick here, called the bag wall. The flames rise to the roof of the kiln and are then drawn down by the force of the draft in the chimney, down through the setting of stacked pots and shelves, through the openings that we've left around the shelves, under the floor, and out through the exit port at the back of the kiln, and exit through the chimney and out. I've chosen to line the inside of the kiln with fiberfax. This is to better contain the heat and to preserve the bricks that we've constructed the body of the kiln from. The overall design of the kiln is based on a cube. Insofar as we can, we've made the dimensions, the width, the height, and the depth all approximately the same. This is for reasons A, of heat efficiency, and also for efficiency of use of materials. The precise dimensions of the cube will be dictated by the shelf size and the necessary spaces around the shelf, and the fact that we're building with a 9-inch brick. The whole cubic construction is contained within this steel framework, which also serves to accept the thrust of this arch. The kiln structure itself is resting on a loose base of concrete block. We're going to be building our kiln on this 4-inch concrete slab. Originally there was a small garden shed here, and we've removed that and extended the slab so that it's now about 10 foot square. This of course is a wonderful footing for a kiln and the kiln shed that we'll build around it later on. It's not necessary to have a concrete slab. You could just have a flat, dry spot on the ground, because this kiln will be built on concrete blocks. But of course a concrete slab is the way to go if you can. What we'll do first of all is establish a center line on the slab so that the kiln that we build will be set up more or less symmetric on the slab and will be true to the edges of the slab. Now we're going to sketch out the shape of the kiln around this 3-shelf layout using the insulating fire bricks that we're going to build the kiln with. The idea here is that we're trying to establish just how many bricks wide our finished kiln will be and just how many bricks long. We have to make sure that we're leaving all the correct spaces for the bag wall, for the combustion space behind the bag wall, and for proper clearance around the shelves. And the only way to do that really is to lay it out with the very things that you're going to build with. Now, we're going to line our kiln with fiberfax, which will be about 1 inch thick when it's installed. So we'll better make sure that we leave enough space for that. So there's the space for the fiberfax, there's the combustion space, there's the bag wall. Same thing on the other side. Fiberfax, combustion space. This will be where our burners come in through each end of the kiln wall, and our bag wall. So I'll continue with this now forward to establish the 2 sides and the front. So here we have a basic layout of the kiln structure around these 3 shelves. Now what's important to do now is just to check that there's sufficient room around the shelves for the flames to go, for there to be good heat circulation throughout the setting. There needs to be enough room between the shelves for there to be passage of the fuel and the flames through the gaps that are left. Now, I've just recalled that we were going to put fiberfax on this kiln, so we've got to be sure that there's enough room on the back for the fiberfax. So let's say 1 inch for the fiberfax, means this shelf's a little bit close to here. So let's push it forward a bit to simulate that. And we need to leave 3/4 of an inch to an inch clearance between the back of this shelf and the face of the Fiberfax. Let's move these shelves forward to accommodate. Now, everything's a little bit tight in here. Here's the front wall of the kiln so that the door bricks will be along here. So we've got very little space left there. Got 3/4 of an inch or so left between the shelves here. Now, what we should probably have a look at is how about we expand this kiln by a half brick this way and just see what that does to the clearances. Notice that I moved forward a full unit of a half brick there. It's pretty difficult to start dealing with less than half bricks. If you start saying, well, I could move it forward 1/4 of a brick or something like that, then every course of brick you're going to have to be cutting and fitting bricks. Okay, there's our Fiberfax. Now I've got about 1.5 inches clearance, 1.25 inches, 1.25 inches. All in all, I think I prefer the wider setting. We've ended up with about 1.5 inches between our shelves here, which corresponds pretty well to the space we have on the sides as well. If you recall, on the previous configuration, which was a half brick closer to me with the front wall, we ended up with about 3/4 of an inch between the shelves. If you think about putting the shelves into the kiln when you're loading it, those are pretty close together, 3/4 of an inch. You'd have to exert more care. You'd have to be careful about placing the pots on the shelves that they didn't protrude over and interfere with the stack behind, etc. If you found yourself laying out the shelves, and of course it all depends on the size of these shelves because the brick size is fixed, when you're laying out the particular shelves that you have, if you ended up with, say, 3 inches between the shelves, then it's obviously too big. You need to come back a little bit. Ideally, what you're looking for is about 1.5 inches space around the shelves inside the setting. This will allow for a good compromise between efficiency of firing, in that only the pots that are sitting on the shelves, after all, are being fired, so you don't want to leave too big a space around them, or you're firing it for no purpose. And on the other hand, if you make it too small, then you're going to impede the flame flow through the shelves around the setting and possibly have problems with evenness of firing.